Hello. Welcome to another Bible story children's time. Beginning of a new week. Here it is, Monday already. And we're off to a brand new week of stories. So, I'd like to welcome you. Last week, and I think the week before that, we were talking a lot about parables and about other stories from Jesus' ministry, all of which is in the Gospels. So today, we're going to dive back into the Old Testament for a little bit. I hope it'll be fun for you. So today, to start out, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you have dreams? Do you ever have dreams? What do you dream? Do you dream about things that you want to do? Do you dream about things that are going to happen maybe? Do you dream about things that did happen? I know when I think about dreaming, there's one thing that immediately comes to mind. But that's not what we're talking about today. Not exactly. We're talking about Old Testament dreams. Dreams were treated very differently in the old days because dreams were seen as people foretelling the future. Sometimes they were also dreams of events that were happening, and they were ways to interpret what you were seeing. And that's where we're going to start today with dreaming. And we're going to start with a young man who did a lot of dreaming. His name was Joseph. Now, Joseph was the youngest son of a guy named Jacob. Also went by the street name of Israel. Because after he wrestled with the angel of God, he didn't quite win, but he wrestled and wrestled for a whole night and earned God's respect. So changed his name to Israel, which means one who wrestles with God. But also known as Jacob. Jacob was the son of Isaac, who was the son of Abraham. So Jacob, or Israel, is considered a patriarch, one of the very early founding fathers of the people that we would come to be known by the name of Israel, the sons and children of Israel. So Joseph, as I said, was the youngest son of Jacob. And he happened to be the favorite son. Jacob had plenty of other sons. He had 11 more who had been born to him. Their mothers were Bilhah and Zilpah. They were wives of Jacob. But he loved Joseph the most because Joseph had been born to him when he was in his old age. At a time when most men were thinking about being a grandparent, he became a parent again of this young man, Joseph. And Joseph probably knew that he was Dad's favorite. I say that because he did things that when you see a sibling do them, you immediately go, oh, gosh, there he goes again. Being the favorite. Let me give you an example. When Joseph was 17, he was off tending flocks with his brothers. And when he went back home, he brought a bad report of what the brothers were doing back to their father. Joseph never heard the term snitches get stitches. So he told on him. This did not endear him to his brothers, nor did his dream, because he had a dream not long after that, and he went and told his brothers. He said, hey, guess what? I had this dream, which was really kind of neat, I think, so let me tell you about it. Nobody asked, hey, what was the dream? He just said, I want to tell you. And he said, you and I, you, all of my brothers, and I were out in the fields. We were working in the field, and we were binding sheaves of grain. In those days, you used a tool called a scythe, which was this like very long knife at the end of a stick, and you would cut the grain with that, and you'd gather it up, stalks and all, and you'd gather and you tie it in bundles, and you'd set those bundles, you'd lay them in the field for them to be picked up later and go through threshing. So he said, we were tying up grain in bundles in the field. And then all of a sudden, my sheaf of grain stood up. And stood upright. And all of your sheaves of grain gathered around and then bowed down to it. What do you think that means? And his brothers said to him, dude, so are you intending to reign over us? You know, you, youngest brother, are you planning to reign over us? He didn't answer. But he did have another dream. And this time, it wasn't in the grain field. This time he was outside at night, and the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowed down to him. Now, how the moon and stars bow down, not exactly sure, but this was his vision. This is what he saw. The moon and the sun and the stars all bowed down to me. And immediately, after having that dream, not having learned from his last one, he went and he told his brothers and his father. And his father says, dude, what kind of dream is this? You think your mother and I and your brothers are actually going to come and bow down to you, the youngest son? Does that even make sense? Then he didn't talk anymore about dreams for a bit. Now, I mentioned that Joseph was the favorite. And the old man kind of doted on him a little bit. And one of the things he did, and this was before the dreams, but one of the things that Jacob did is he had this special coat made for him. It was kind of a robe, and it was made of many different colors. Robes generally back then, at least for the people of this culture, tended to be kind of plain. But his was just multicolored, and it stood out, and it was a thing of beauty. And he gave it to Joseph. He did not give a similar one to any of his brothers. So Jacob apparently did not understand the psychology of siblings either. So that's material for later. So, sometime after these dreams, the brothers, the 11 brothers, not counting Joseph, went out to graze their father's sheep near a place called Shechem. And after they were gone a little while, Jacob, remembering that Joseph had been a snitch before, called to his youngest son and he said, "Hey, you know your brothers are off at Shechem grazing the sheep, right? So I want you to go and visit them." Okay? So you go visit your brothers and then you come back to me. He did not say, report back to me on what they're doing. He did not say, be a snitch and come back. But you read between the lines, this is what Dad was probably getting at. Or Dad was just very naive. We're not sure. Either way, Jacob sent Joseph off from the valley of Hebron to go to this place called Shechem. And when Joseph arrived there, there was no one there. No sign of the brothers. And a man, a local there, found Joseph wandering around in the fields and said, "Can I help you? Looking for something?" And Joseph said, "Well, I'm looking for 11 brothers. They're my brothers. Can you tell me where they are?" They were grazing their sheep. And the local guy said, "Oh yeah, I remember them. They were talking among themselves, and I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" And then they left. So Joseph went, okay, Dothan. Dothan was some miles away. So he said, okay, I'll follow in there. And Joseph headed out to go to Dothan to find his brothers. And he did find them. But when he was still some ways off, they saw him as well. And because they had had it pretty much up to here with him, his brothers said, okay, here's good news. The dreamer is coming. And some of the others said, well, maybe we should just go ahead and kill him. Throw the body into one of these cisterns and we'll just tell Dad that an animal ate him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams. Nobody's going to be bowing down to him then, are they? So Reuben, a younger brother, not younger than Joseph, Reuben heard this and it was too much. I mean, he didn't like Joseph either. He thought Joseph was a snitch, but he didn't want him dead. He also didn't want to get in trouble with his other brothers. So he said, tell you what, when he gets here, let's not kill him right away. Let's throw him into this cistern here, out away from town so nobody will find him. But let's not do anything to him yet. Let's let him squirm a little bit. So everybody seemed to like that idea. So when Joseph finally arrived, he walks up to the camp and he says, "Hey guys, I'm here. Glad I found you." And they immediately fall upon him. They strip off his many-colored robe and they throw him into the cistern. Now, a cistern was this hole in the ground, very deep hole, that was used to collect rainwater because water, when it rained there, water tended not to stick around. There were no ponds, or not many ponds or lakes or rivers or anything like that. So they dug cisterns to channel the water, the rain that came, to channel the water into the cistern, and then they could use that for the livestock later on in the year. Now, at this time, this one happened to be empty. No water. Good news, bad news. He didn't have water to drink, but at least he didn't drown. So they threw him into the cistern, and they walked away, and they had dinner. At this time, they also happened to see again in the distance a caravan of merchants coming from the town of Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices and balm and myrrh, all of which were very valuable, and all of which they were taking down to Egypt to be sold. And one of the older brothers, name was Judah. Judah watched the caravan for a little bit, and then the light bulb went on over his head. He said, "Hey guys, thinking about what Reuben said, let's not kill him right away. When you think about it, what do we gain if we kill him at all? Sure, it'll feel good for a little while. Sure, it'll get this thorn that is our youngest brother out of our side. Sure, it might be entertaining. But wouldn't it be even better if we could make some money off him? So let's sell him to the merchants, the Ishmaelites. Not lay hands on him. That way, he is our brother. He is our flesh and blood. So that way we won't be killing him. We won't even be hurting him. No blood on our hands. Hands are clean. We'll just be selling him into slavery." And the other brothers said, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Judah, you're a smart guy." So when the merchants came closer, and here's something interesting, they're referred to as Ishmaelites early on in this chapter, and suddenly they become Midianites, and that's a discussion for another time. But it says when the Midianite merchants came by, Joseph's brothers, flagged him over and said, "Hey, come here. Listen, we got somebody in the cistern for you. If you want to buy him. You're going to Egypt, right? Like a long ways from here? Okay, yeah, okay. So if you want to buy him, we'll sell him to you. Are you interested?" And the merchants went over to the cistern. They took the torch, because it was kind of nighttime, and they held it down so they could see. And they said, "Yeah, that's looks like a healthy young man. We'll take him." So they hashed out the price a little bit, and they ended up selling him for the price of 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites. It's really hard to equate that to today's wages, because that amount of silver, just pure silver today, really wouldn't amount to that much. But then you have to think of what money was worth, what the purchasing power was. And when you look through books and commentaries and that, you find that basically this was the equivalent of like 4 months' wages for a common worker. So no small sum. So the brothers, as the merchants went away with their brother, the brothers were high-fiving themselves, saying, "Hey, we're rid of the pest. We've got some money in our pockets. life is good. And then Reuben, who had been away from camp, came back, and he went to the cistern by himself because he was going to pull Joseph out and set him free. And lo and behold, Joseph was gone. He went back to his brothers and he said, "Hey, Joseph is gone. What happened? What are we going to do?" And the guy said, "Relax. All taken care of. We sold him." And at that point, there was nothing else Reuben could do. So he was stuck with the crime. All they could do at this point was go with it and do the best they could to cover it up. So they went, they got his robe. Remember the many-colored robe? And they kind of ripped it up a little. And they slaughtered a goat and they dipped the robe in goat blood. So it looked pretty bad. And then with the genius of criminals, they didn't go back to their father and say, "Hey, look, here's your son's robe. Something got him." They took the robe back to Jacob and said, "We found this. Can you look at it and tell us if this is your son's robe? Is this Joseph's?" And Jacob looked at it and he could tell the pattern of colors and clothes, and he said, "It is his. Some ferocious animal must have devoured him. He's surely been torn to pieces." And Jacob tore his own clothes, and he put on sackcloth in mourning, and he mourned for Joseph for many days. And his sons came to comfort him, and his daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. He said, "No, I'm going to continue to mourn until I'm dead myself." Meanwhile, the merchants arrived in Egypt. And that's when things got really bad for Joseph. But that's a story for tomorrow. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for bringing us together again today. Thank you for letting us share in this story of a dreamer, the story of Joseph, one of the patriarchs. Lord, please help us to dream our dreams as well, not dreams where someone is subservient to us, but dreams where we can help others, dreams where we can make a difference in this world. Amen. All right, so we will see you tomorrow, same time, and we'll pick up the story again. Have a great afternoon.